Yo, what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, we are going to be taking a look at all of the G2 A, B seeded groups. That's going to be 7009 through 7018 that are in the most recent KvK for War of the Last Snows. We're going to round out and give you Zone 3 conclusion updates because, again, some of the final zones have opened, some have not opened, some have already started fighting and going and touching already in the middle, and then some have not. So we're going to end up doing a day one recap tomorrow on the 14th. Today is going to be how Zone 3 finished up and just to kind of give you the quick and dirty version of that. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this one. And as always, if you do, make sure you throw us up. Because that was a lot. Thanks. Okay. So starting with, we're in 7009. Now this matchup again is TFSGD WAO VP22 versus WB Sura and S2AK Rage. Now in Morbrez, this was Sura WB, so they're opening Zone 3. They have control of this, no changes. If we go over here to Ravona, we have here on this side, this is the TFSGD camp side. You can see on here that basically they have been pushed from both sides. If you are to look, for example, TFS there in the yellow, GD here in the yellow, I believe GD here in the red. I don't know if there's anyone else there. And then there's a little bit of yellow here, so it looks like a little bit more, maybe that, oh, I see it connects right there around the mountain. But effectively, TFS and WB, or TFS and GD have been zone locked out of 3. Again, is it worth them pushing up past probably some of the chokes at that point when it comes to the Rage and the WB team? At least on this side, may not necessarily be, especially if they just don't want to utilize any additional territory or flags that they more than need or have to. But yeah, that's how that looks right there. So basically at the moment, out of one team, we'll just say Team A or Team B, WA and VP22, right? Really the only other teams that would be making it into the final zone at this time. So you can effectively call this KvK done with and over. I think that's fair to say, unless by some magical crazy level of resistance that we see with TFS and GD pushing back, depending if WA and VP22 can take on that 2v4. It doesn't seem likely to me, and we can maybe take a quick peek at FZ2 as well here in a moment. But yeah, effectively, this is one of the and I want to point out, let me go through all this, and then I'm going to say what I want to say because this is really important that I have to get out. For in Camelot here, this is S2AK Rage. They have control of this area. Then we get to Doolin. This is WA VP22. You can see they have control, no one pushing in from either of the passes. And then you can see that they have pushed in a little bit here, but they're kind of getting stonewalled, right? Again, there is some action that you can see happening here, but for the most part, there's not really any traction. I don't know if there's any hard traction. Doesn't look like anything's going up there, so they're just trying to push in through this way. Again, you could argue and say that this KvK is over at this point. I don't think anyone would look at this and say, oh yeah, they're, no way, they're absolutely still in it. And that's not to take any efforts away from them. They should still fight it out to their heart's content, get as much PvP action and enjoyment as they can out of it. But this to me highlights, and I'll probably do a separate video on this because some of you probably already know what I'm going to say, but this is one of the most disappointing things to me when situations like this happen because of, and again, I don't want to go as far as saying that it's an incompetence, but what I want to say is that it is a huge missed opportunity from the developers when it comes to how the pass is open. And you've heard me talk about this multiple times before, where I'm okay if they want to have a cross Zone 3 pass. The biggest challenge is that you should not have the cross Zone 3 pass, which in this case is the level 4 pass, open before the final zone pass is open. They should open days to at least 1 week after, right? And you could still have your cross Zone 3, you can still lock people out, that's fine. You could have multiple battlefronts, not saying you can't have that. But what we are saying is that we know for a fact, again, and I'm going to reference back to it historically from the Rise of the Dragon season, what was one of the best things we saw out of that season. That was one of the first KvK seasons we had seen in God knows how long, where the majority of the KvK groups, if not up to all of them, had just amazing wars in the final zone because pretty much in the majority of the KvK groups, everyone was able to make it into the final zone. And we just saw fantastic final boss crescendo PvP, which is, again, we obviously would have been awesome if it lasted a little bit longer, but still, it was one of the best seasons in recent memory. And when you see situations like this happen, it's appalling, is really what it is. It's utterly disappointing, and it's one of those things that's easily fixable and correctable, but it just hasn't been done yet. And I just think about the potential money that the developers miss out on and the enjoyment for the community and the player base that they could get a lot more of if something like that didn't happen, right? Okay, moving on. Let's go to S7010. That's my little smidgen of a moment there. Okay, this one we have, this is Echo SVR. What do I have? Echo SVR, MFD, VWL versus BTX, HOUW, EX, and BNR. Now, we'll start with more Brez. This is Echo SVR. They have control, so no changes there. We get over to Ravona. Echo and SVR have pushed out BTX and HOUW, so they effectively have control at this point. You can see getting pushed all the way back to the past there, all the way back to the past there. I mean, they have basically purely zone 1 locked BTX and HOUW, and this is the number 2 KvK. Once again, the top 2 KvKs are over before the final zone opened. And again, this isn't to say like, oh, shame on, Rage, and shame on, a WB, shame on Echo. No, we're not saying that, right? Again, they can play and they can do what they want to do based on what the game allows them to do. Nothing wrong with that. All I'm saying is that you minimize and effectively eliminate what the potential PvP ceiling could have been when you have all of the alliances and up to all of the players that could be engaging in PvP having the opportunity to go at it. And again, that's all we'll say there. But yeah, this KvK is effectively over. Then we get over to Camelid. And for this one, we have MFD VWL. They have control, really no change there. Then we get over to Doolin. In EX, BNR mostly have control here at this time. I believe Echo SVR, they've worked their way up over here to the pass, but you can still see that there is still some territory there. They haven't pushed in, at least over here on this side, into EX and BNR. I think there might be some action or a little bit of minor PvP. I mean, they have connected to the pass and kind of taken the north side, but you could say that they still kind of have majority territory control, but they haven't invaded from the north. Okay, let's get to 7011. And again, we'll try and run through these because I think most of these, and I'm going to call out, I'm going to give some shout outs to here as well to just some other groups based on some things that we have seen so far. So getting to more Brez, this is EIS, SHPZ. They have control, no change there. We get to Ravona. This is 30 NA, Ash, ampersand. Yes, sweetie? Can I play with friends? Yes, you can go play, but you got to be back by 6 o'clock because we got to eat dinner. Okay, so you have 1 hour. No, she's going to be coming. Mom's bringing her. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Make sure to check the time. Okay, so here we got 30 NA and Ash in Ravona. Now SHPZ invaded from the north and the south gate is holding. Now very minor invading. You can see some action here. That's at the level 3 Spire. Again, they are working their way down. South Pass is holding at the moment. Then we get to Camelid. This is, oh, and excuse me, I don't know if I said it already, but this one is EIS SHPZ and FA A2G versus 30 NA Ash and O5 DK and Squiggly Eyes. And in Camelid, we have FA and A2G. They have control, no change there. In Doolin, this was O5DK, OO, or Squiggly Eyes. EIS has invaded from the north. You can see them here in blue. South Pass is holding currently. So yeah, I mean, that's just how it looks. I don't think that they have eliminated. They do have O5DK and OO do have one pass access, but then EIS and them have taken out the other one. Now they are working. Oh, they did have 1 or 2 people on that fort right there, but it doesn't look like there is anymore. That's what it looked like earlier. Okay, then let's go to 7012. Here in this one, this is going to be GGMBH ROVAC versus LC25IW Seal and IWV. Now, as we look over here to more Brez, we see GGMBH have control. We look over here to Ravona. You can see that LC25IW have control. Camelid, ROVAC have control. We go over here to Doolin. Seal, IWV have control. Now, I just want to point this out because I do have to give a shout out here. I don't know if this was intended. I don't know if this was, and this, like I said, isn't to take away as well from anyone that did invade in Cross Zone 3. It's part of the game. You can do what you want. But I do like, again, this is just because I lean more on the side of wanting to see more PvP. I want everyone to have an opportunity to get involved. It doesn't mean they have to be involved for the entirety of the KvK, but it's nice to at least have that possibility. And so the fact that everyone has control, everyone gets a shot at participating for however long that may last in the final zone, I'm always going to be more in favor of that. That's always where I'm going to lean on that. So the fact that that's happening here, again, this is, the first one that we're seeing, right? So 70-12, good job. And let me know if that's what the intent was or not. And if it just it happened to work out that way, okay, dope sauce. 70-13, this is RFF KvK, RP25, I don't know why I'm saying it like that, 25IW versus 14BS, NF57, SG97, and EVG. In more Braz, we have RFF KvK. Here in have control. I don't know why I was going to keep saying it. They have control, no changes. Ravona, 14BS, and F57 have control, no changes. In Cameled, we have SG or RP25IW. They mostly have control. SG97, EVG are invading over here from the west. They're kind of hanging out right here, right? So there's not really any additional movement. It's just a very minor invade. And then you have Duel in here, which is SG97, EVG. They have control. Again, shout out to 70-13. Basically, everyone is having the opportunity to participate in the final zone and at least fight a little bit. Touche, my hat's off, right? Again, I got to give the kudos where I believe the kudos are due. All right, let's go to 70-14. Here in this one, we're going to always start with more Brez going up north. Now here, this is BEK NTS. They have control. We go east over here to Ravona. This is BEK NTS with 1UP MM versus NWE, HTF, ROD, and UHA for this KvK group. Like I said, BEK NTS up north, they have control over east and Ravona, where we're at now. This is NWE, HTF. Now, NTS does have a light invade from the north. You can see that there's someone here, and then you have the NWE and the other people that are there. There doesn't appear to be any ongoing pushing, or never mind, I guess there is an ongoing flag. Never mind, they weren't that super active when I just checked a little while ago, but okay. So it looks like they are pushing a little bit. Again, so slight invade at the moment coming from the north. South passes are holding, and you can see this is 7UP and then NW, right? So it is different. I thought it was the same. I zoomed in, but it looks like the territory is along the river line, so it's kind of hard to see or differentiate that. Then we go over to Cameled. This is 1UP MM. They have control, no changes. We get to Duelin. This is ROD UHA. NTS pushed from the north and MM pushed from the south here. You can see, though, kind of stopping around this area, haven't really continued to push beyond that. However, on the south, the MM and the 1UP team have been continuously pushing. You can see that there is some action happening there. I don't think I've seen anything here on this one where the Bastion is, but again, they're continuously pushing. They at least have one pass access that they have been able to get into. But if they keep pushing, they might be able to take that away somewhat soonish. I have to imagine that is somewhat impacting because they've taken away one passive entry. So it is probably going to limit at least support, or we should say resupply and PvP engagement from both of the teams there that had that opening zone 3. Okay, then we end up getting over to 70-15. We only got, 4 more left now? So in this one, we look at more Brez. As always, we'll start there up top north. This is RAC NOM with GPX OMG. They're going up against BXS, D&D, KOV, and LPG. Up north, this is RAC Nomnobs. They have control. We go east over to Ravona. This is BXS D&D. Now, they have been invaded from the north and the south. So you could see here, RAC, etc., right? They are invading here. If we zoom in, you can see there is some action that's happening too as well. BXS, D&D, again, are resisting. If we go south, you could see that there is OMG, and I don't know if where the other one is there. Oh, I guess both GPX. There we go. But from what I looked at a little while ago, they weren't doing any pushing. There wasn't any additional flag building. I don't know if purple doesn't look like they are. So yeah, it looks like they're just kind of chilling. They still have both flag access, but they haven't really started building super deep in yet. I don't know if let me see here. I don't know if it's updated. No, it hasn't updated there. If we zoom in, nothing's happening, and then no additional pushing. So again, either passes open. I think the passes did recently open here, but maybe they're just focusing on trying to push them out of the zone 3, which they could, I guess, based on how it looks, if they continued pushing from the south as well. Then we go over to Cameled. Here, this is GPX OMG. They have control, no change. We go over to Duelin. This is KOV LPG territory. They have been invaded from the north and south, and there is no final zone access for them. You can see in purple, getting invaded from the north, that's RAC NOM, and then coming from the south, that's GPX OMG. And you can see here that KOV is there, LPG in the red. There's really no access, right? So, I mean, again, they're almost pushed out of zone 3, but they have no final zone access. That could also just be why they're pushing here in zone 3, because they don't really need to push from the final zone. They can just push them out once they're locked, then go ahead and continue building. I imagine they probably have some builders or some people on standby that are just already building some flags periodically or just kind of passively in the FZ. But if they clear out here in the zone 3 in this kind of middle area of Ravona, then the KvK is pretty much officially over at that point, even though you can argue that the KvK is over already. And this kind of, goes right into what we saw from the number 1 and the number 2 KvK that's happening pretty much same here in 7015. Then let's go to 7016. How are we doing on time so far? 15 minutes? Wow, I'm killing it right now. Oh my gosh, wow. All right, then let's go north. I mean, outside of it took a little bit on the number 1 KvK there in the beginning. Let's go to more Braz here. This is DBB K211. They're with Myth and Law versus -FU, WGL, NXW, and AC. In the north, we have DBB and K211. Now, AC has invaded them from the west. They're over here in the blue, and you can see they've pushed at the bridge. But from what I last saw, there wasn't any action going on. Yeah, there still isn't at the moment. So again, light invade, but they haven't taken away any pass action from them. Nothing on the east pass. Then we go over to Ravona. This is -FU, WGL. This is control that they do have here. So no change. We go down south. This is Cameled. This is Myth and Law. Now, -FU and WGL have invaded from the east. This is the orange, it looks like, and neon or green. You could see them kind of working down to the pass. I don't know if they're still doing that. No, they're not pushing anymore there. But you can see they've kind of come around this north side, taken one pass. There's another pass, and I believe that they're working over to this one. They are. Not destroying any flags there, but they do have one build going down there for Myth at the moment. So, yeah, I mean, again, they're working over to that. They've already removed one pass, so it's only going to allow the Cameled team here from Myth and Law to really only put so much pressure into the FZ. Then we go over west. This is Doolin, NXWAC. Again, they have control here, right? So they have both going in. So at the moment, it's basically 3 to 5 passes access. That's on one team versus the other in the FZ. But again, this kind of goes to show you, and this isn't super bad compared to some of the others as far as like what has been kind of taken away from them. Let's go to 7017. This one is actually a little bit more straightforward and very nice to see. Again, in my opinion, we have more Braz. This is EDRSYN. They're with KIN and IA. They're going up against FG, KOD, POTC, and BB. Now, in more Braz, they have control with EDRSYN. No invades either side. Ravona, this is FG, KOD. Similar situation. They have complete control. Cameled, KIN, and IA. They have complete control. No invades. Doolin, POTC, and BB. They have complete control. No invades. This is, I mean, look at this. You can see the differences here in the KvKs that are basically running around like that gif of Squidward inside his house looking at SpongeBob and Patrick running around happy as can be. That's kind of what this is, right? I love seeing all the color. I love seeing all the action, all the PvP engagement. That is what we hopefully want to see more of. That's what I want to see more of. And I have to imagine that if you're a player and you're actually fighting out there, that's what you're hoping to see more of, because it just means hopefully longer lasting PvP for you and more opportunities for you to fight, especially for those of you that are just not no-lifing it for 24 to 48 hours, being online and taking days off, right? If you have to kind of come on, you only have certain windows per day that you can come on, you'd rather the fighting last longer because it gives you more opportunities to go out and actually enjoy the fighting and the war. All right, then let's look at the last group. This is going to be 7018. We look here. This is, if we're going to go, so let's start north as always here in more Braz. Now, this is TC Block with RKDP. They're going up against Laws 3-3, AXT, and SOS. Now, TC and Block here in more Braz, they have control, no change. We go over to Ravona. This is Laws and 3-3, or Slanted Eyes, I think is what they call themselves. And this is, they have control, no change. And then we go to Cameled. This is RKDP. Now, they have been invaded from the west and the east. They have no final zone access, right? So you can see coming in from the east, we have Laws and 3-3. From the west, it looks like a little bit here, but you basically have, where is it? Blur. Who do I have west from Doolin, right? So it's AXT, SOS, and you can see AXW, and then you see 3-3 that's over here. But most importantly, if you see RKDP, if I can click on some territory, RK's there, DK is there. Right, and then you can see going over here, it's RK a little bit more, and then SP, right? So again, just some shells, but they have effectively been zone locked out of the FZ, but not obviously out of zone 3. And then you go over to Doolin, that's AXT SOS. and they have their zone 3 under control. But you can argue this KvK is already over, right? So that's 4 KvKs in the A, B seeded groups, right? From 7,009 to 18. So that's 4 out of what, 9? Right? If I go, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 10. So that's 40%. 4 out of 10 groups so far. The KvK is basically done before the final zone opened. And 2 of those groups were the number 1 and the number 2 KvKs. I mean, listen, you can't sit there and tell me that that's not a problem. And I'll continue to preach about it, respectfully, of course, and professionally, because it is a change that needs to happen if we want to be able to have longer lasting, more sustainable, more enjoyable, and more participatory PvP. And that's my hope right at the end of the day. For those of you that have already won your KvKs, congratulations. I'll be looking forward to seeing how the end of the season goes, and then going into the next season where hopefully we get more kingdoms coming into the G2 pool, and we look forward to the next KvK storyline if a new one comes out, or if maybe we can all kind of go back to Rise of the Dragon. That would be dope. So, or as long as they just change the level 4 pass access, right, where it opens after the final zone. Like literally all you have to do is just swap these. Just put level 4 here, put level 5 there. Bam. That's all you have to do, right? And that would at least be a starting point. Anyways, those are my thoughts. I'd love to know what you guys think on that, along with how your KvK has been going. If you're in a KvK where it's already over, how do you feel? Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel like, man, I was able to do everything I wanted to do, I'm so excited? Or no, it was a letdown. I really wish that we could things could have played out better. Again, extenuating circumstances aside, because some KvKs I have heard do have some. And then if you're in a KvK where everyone had a chance to make it to the final zone, and you're looking forward to some longer lasting or hopefully more enjoyable PvP, or not, maybe not more enjoyable, but getting more out of it for the remaining duration of the KvK, let me know what you think. All right, that's it for me. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.